After Xu Qingyou's death, she felt relieved, but there was a little regret that she encountered a small system. One is boring, one is in urgent need of a host, and it's easy to get along. Let's see what kind of story a unified leader will have. Keywords of the novel. Quick wear. I carry autumn water to embrace the Milky Way without a pop-up window. Quick wear. I carry autumn water to embrace the Milky Way. Download the complete set of TXT, Quick wear. I carry autumn water to embrace the Milky Way. Read the latest chapters. Chapter 1. Rebirth, 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Rebirth, 1, Meow. A regular sound of footsteps echoed in the dark alley, mixed with the sound of cats, causing passers-by to accelerate their steps. As the footsteps progressed, a girl wearing a turquoise half-length qipao and holding an oiled paper umbrella appeared at the entrance of the alley. The girl had fair skin, delicate eyebrows and eyes, and her drooping eyelids couldn't see her expression clearly. However, the silhouette completely made people imagine how charming and unparalleled a girl with open eyes would be. Host, how did you come out of here? You scared me to death. Oh, your system will still be afraid. Host, they are clearly very timid. System 1314 exaggeratedly patted his chest and said. Oh, it's related to me. No. Hearing the coldness and danger in Xu Qingyou's tone, the system's sense of humor disappeared. Girl, where are you going? Uncle will take you over. The taxi driver stopped and enthusiastically asked, extending his head. Number 26 Bei Lane. Xu Qingyou put on his bow and said coldly. Sit still. The driver drove towards the destination. Girl, Bei Lane is not easy. If you live there, I can only take you to a slightly closer place, and you have to leave the rest by yourself. It's okay, just take me to the nearby area. The two of them didn't speak anymore. Xu Qingyou looked at the street outside the window, seemingly unchanged from 3 years ago, and slowly closed her eyes. Girl, wake up, it's already here. Xu Qingyou opened his eyes, gave the driver 2 tickets, bowed and got off the car, and the driver left. Host, is this where you used to live? It looks so righteous. Xu Qingyou didn't say much, silently bowing and holding an umbrella as he walked towards Bei Alley. Bei Lane is heavily guarded, and everyone living here is a national treasure. Anyone who wants to enter is subject to strict scrutiny, and it is called Bei Lane, which is actually a large courtyard. Xu Qingyou walked for 20 minutes before reaching the door. 2 soldiers were standing guard at the door. Xu Qingyou took out his identification and walked over. Xu Qingyou, go home. The soldier at the door was holding Xu Qingyou's ID card. Looking at the person's name on the ID card, his eyes couldn't help but widen. After a while, seeing that the soldiers had no response, Xu Qingyou frowned and said, Is there a problem? A cold voice rang in his ear, and the soldier quickly snapped back to his senses. No problem, Professor Xu, just a moment, I'll make a phone call. As the call was made, everything that should have been known about Xu Qingyou's return was instantly known. I'm done, I can go in now. Sure, I'll take you inside. The soldier told another sentry about the situation and quickly walked back. He consciously helped Xu Qingyou lift his bow and escorted him to the 26th courtyard. After 3 years of silence, the owner of the courtyard finally returned and said, Professor Xu, this courtyard is cleaned every day, and your belongings are also here. Please take a look and see if there is anything that doesn't meet your expectations. It says that someone will be sent to correct it for you immediately. No, I want to rest now. You go back first. Thank you. No need, I'm waiting here for the person who takes care of you. Just call me if you have anything, my name is Lu Hai. I know. Xu Qingyou nodded and returned to her bedroom, then relaxed and let herself sleep. System 1314 saw that Xu Qingyou was asleep, and then carefully floated out. It found that its host's sleeping appearance was harmless to humans and animals, which made people want to hold it in their palms to spoil. However, immediately, it shook its head and suppressed this terrible idea. This is not a delicate and weak white lotus, but a king flower. Thinking of the torture I suffered when binding my host, the system decisively went back to training. I don't want to be the top administrator, it's not a good administrator. No one disturbed her. Xu Qingyou slept very well this night. After waking up, she looked a bit more popular as she no longer had the previous indifference. Host, you're awake. There are many people outside. Upon hearing these words, Xu Qingyou stood up to wash up, and when he came out again, he looked as if he were cold and aloof. Xu Qingyou changed into clothes and went downstairs, only to see many acquaintances sitting downstairs. Yo-Yo, wake up. Grandpa Lin, Uncle He, and the Secretary General, why are you all here? Xu Qingyou smiled slightly, as if 100 flowers were in full bloom at that moment, and the beauty of the world could not match her smile. You girl, you've been missing for 3 years, but you've come back and lost a lot of weight. Girl, won't you come back and leave this time? I'm not leaving. After all this time, it's more interesting to do scientific research. Girl, Grandpa doesn't ask you what has happened in these years, but remember, you're not alone. There are still us old guys behind you. Got it, thank you Grandpa Lin. Xu Qingyou's eyes showed a hint of warmth, which was a unique honor for her. She has always been stubborn because there is a group of people behind her who will always unconditionally spoil her. These people are not relatives, but more like relatives. Girl, it's good to come back. I see that your body has weakened a lot. Let Aunt Lin make more delicious supplements for you. Also, are you interested in coming to the team to exercise for a while? Uncle He, forget it. Besides wanting to do scientific research, I always want to lie flat. Besides, when I go to the army, I'm afraid I'll end up in the hospital every 3 days. Xu Qingyou smiled and refused. Okay, since you're okay, let's leave first. When we have time, we'll get together. You girl, take a good rest for 2 days. Grandpa Lin and Uncle He left, leaving only the Secretary General to stay. Uncle Secretary General, I wonder if you have any guidance. You girl, talk good and go out for a trip. Compared to the changes 3 years ago, the changes are too significant. There's a story. You still have such sharp eyes like a torch. Xu Qingyou didn't deny it and took a slow sip of tea. If you don't want to say it, I won't ask either. Let's get down to business. The Secretary General smiled and said, we have all studied what you have sent back and it has great development prospects. If you need anything, just say it and we fully support it. That's good, the idea of genetic drugs is just a temporary idea for me, but the possibility of success is high, and I will minimize the side effects until there are no. Xu Qingyou's face was full of confidence, and this statement was arrogant. However, from Xu Qingyou's mouth, the Secretary General had already let go of half of her heart. After all, since she entered the scientific research industry, she has never failed. You girl, you are still as confident as before. By the way, when you came here, you asked for a military academy spot. I have arranged it for you, and you can fill in the name. The Secretary General handed over a notice from the National Defense University. Who are you going to give this spot to? You shouldn't need it yourself, after all, you came out from there. Thank you. Xu Qingyou took the notice. Secretary General, you don't have much to do now. Why don't you go ahead and get busy first? Okay, I'll go. Just call if you need anything, really don't want a few people to protect you. No need, you go quickly. After seeing off the Secretary General, Xu Qingyou looked at the notice on the table, feeling a bit confused. The new book has been released, hurry up and write whatever you want. The material collection is ongoing, and we hope everyone can provide more suggestions. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Rebirth, 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Rebirth, 2, Host, what's wrong with you? It's nothing. I just suddenly felt a bit funny. Xu Qingyou walked to the study with the notice, casually throwing the things aside and ignoring it. The system was a bit hesitant to speak. When binding Xu Qingyou, she did not scan any information about her, and her soul power was extremely powerful. It was almost destroyed. Later, for some reason, she kept it, but her only requirement was to return to her original world, complete what she should do, and then go to other worlds to do tasks. Xiaoxi, let me introduce you. What system are you? Xu Qingyou only then had the intention to inquire about the origin of 1314. Host, I am rewriting the life system 1314. Due to many problems in the small world, the characters inside are implicated or killed by male and female protagonists for various reasons, resulting in excessive resentment and causing the small world to collapse. Our task is to calm the resentment of these characters and make the small world run normally. 1314 excitedly said. So it's like this, when I finish what I need to do in this world, let's go explore other small worlds with you. After listening to the system's introduction, Xu Qingyou felt a bit interesting and didn't reject it anymore. Host, you're so good. 1314 is so happy. It's really afraid that the big shots will kill the game if they're not happy. By the way, Host, do you want to improve the technology of this world? Yeah, I've been abandoned for 3 years, and if I don't have the ability to die, I'll die. But I already have the ability to take this country's technology to the next level, because a man's death is too oppressive, and I'm even more sorry for the country that nurtured me. Xu Qingyou's eyes were somewhat distant and relieved. Host, you died because of a man. The system was extremely surprised. At that time, my mind was probably not clear. I gave up my future and just wanted to be with him. I was still someone I had never met before. Xu Qingyou smiled, seemingly letting go, but it was actually a bit uncomfortable. 1314 seeing how Xu Qingyou didn't want to say much and didn't ask much, in fact, with Xu Qingyou's ability, it's easy to find out where that person is and what they are doing. But she doesn't want to investigate, let's just do it. After resting for a day, the next day, Xu Qingyou appeared in the research institute. The dusty laboratory belonging to Xu Qingyou has finally been opened, and everyone is working together to clean it up. Yuyo, how many assistants are you planning to choose for this experiment? 2, one who can cook. Okay, we'll arrange everything for you. In the following days, Yuyo devoted herself wholeheartedly to conducting experiments on gene drugs. The mice changed batches and the experimental data was changed time and time again. Finally, when the experiment was too tiring, Yuyo accidentally threw a sumu plant in and found that the drug had turned dark green. After extraction, the final formed medicinal herb has a strong aroma, and just smelling it makes people feel extremely comfortable. Professor, is this a success? The medicinal scent this time is stronger than ever before, and it smells like my waste is much better. Success, but it's still clinical trials that determine the specific effect. Yu smiled. She knew she had succeeded this time, but it's better to speak with facts. Next, everyone in the laboratory entered a busy clinical trial. The last batch of mice, after a month, had a total of 10, 3 of which had only superpowers and doubled in size. Apart from that, there were no adverse reactions. Success. It's really successful. The laboratory was filled with cheers, and Xu Qingyou and others were almost overjoyed. They clapped their hands and said, although the medicine has been successful in mice, it is unknown what kind of reaction it will have in humans. I can guarantee that there will be no side effects, but it is unclear to what extent the body will be modified. Upon hearing Yuyu's words, everyone's excited expressions softened a lot. Yes, no one knows what effects it will have on humans. So, I decided to give it a try first. Yu smiled as she finished drinking the prepared potion. Yu. Before everyone could react, they saw that Yu had already taken the medicine. For a moment, the laboratory was in chaos and Yu was urgently taken to the hospital. "Oh, don't worry, I'll treat it myself. It's okay." Yu felt helpless as she felt her body hot. Immediately, she fainted. In her coma, Xu Qingyou's body was transformed, and a layer of impurities appeared on the surface of her body. "It smells so bad." Yo woke up and reached out to see that her hand was full of black shuttle things. She looked at the smiling expressions of the people around her, expressionless, and hurriedly stepped into the bathroom. After Yu finished organizing, looking at the beautiful girl in the mirror, she felt that her physical fitness had improved by more than one step, and there was no discomfort in her body. Yu knew that this potion could be produced in large quantities. Quickly, Yu sorted out all the information and wrote down her personal feelings in detail. The people in the laboratory, regardless of persuasion, came to manage them one by one. Without exception, the old professors looked like they were 20 years younger, with white hair turning black. The young people, on the other hand, turned into supernatural experts one by one. On this day, the laboratory was either broken or crooked, whether it was lively or not. The effect of this potion is too powerful. Before the command above is given, all participants in the experiment must not leave the laboratory. The old academician said excitedly and calmly. Everyone nodded in agreement, and the person sent above was very fast. With the example of a group of people in the laboratory, no one doubted the effectiveness of the medicine. Yu, can this medicine be mass-produced? After taking the medicine, the Secretary General looked radiant and could work for another 20 years. No, there are two herbs that are difficult to find, only found in Kunlun Mountain. Jiji grass and Xinguang grass are only available there. Picking them once is particularly troublesome. Yu sighed. Yu, I will send someone to search for the herbs as soon as possible. The rest is not what Yu should manage, let alone that she doesn't like trouble very much. The genetic drug experiment lasted for 2 years, and Yu happened to be tired. She decided to go home and rest, and then talk to her family on the phone about wanting to pick them up. Her parents quickly agreed, and Yu arranged for someone to pick up her father, mother, and siblings as soon as possible. Host, what are you going to do next? Artificial intelligence. You said vaguely before falling asleep. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Rebirth, 3. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Rebirth, 3. After resting for a few days, I once again immersed myself in the laboratory. It's not a solution to keep going like this. This girl has been missing for 3 years and will stay in the laboratory day and night after coming back. What kind of stimulation has she been experiencing? Did the person sent to investigate find anything? I still haven't found anything. This girl swept the tale cleanly. She was the most outstanding national defense student of that generation, and anti-reconnaissance was not easy to come by. Keep up your mind and take good care of Professor Xu. If you can't pull her out of the laboratory, you'll knock her unconscious. If this girl doesn't rest, something will happen. Got it. The few people who received the order couldn't help but feel a bit embarrassed. The difficulty of knocking out Yu was quite high, and Yu's skills were probably one of the few opponents in the world, let alone his modified body with potions. Yu, the material you made has good ductility. When used in space, the damage rate of our spacecraft and other space equipment will be much lower. Professor Lin walked into Yu's laboratory and smiled as he looked at a piece of material on the table. You also think this material is good? I think using it to make the skin of this companion robot is very good. Yu heard this and enthusiastically introduced the benefits of this material to Professor Lin. Companion robots, is this your current research achievement? Yes, I have found that many young people in today's society work outside, leaving behind mostly elderly and children at home, making it inconvenient to do anything. This robot is designed for this type of group. But this thing is not something that every family can afford. Professor Lin sighed and said. I can't afford it, but I can rent it. Yo-Yo plans to open a technology company in her name, only renting and not selling, and it's okay to lose money. Anyway, the property she left for her family is enough for the rest of her life to be carefree. It's better to use the rest to do something meaningful. Yo-Yo told Professor Lin about her plans, and after a moment of reflection, Professor Lin said, Yo-Yo, your identity is not convenient. You can entrust it to a reliable person. This is not urgent, just leave it to the country. Yo-Yo has never been worried about finding people, but if someone dares to deceive her, she always knows at the first time, so she is not worried that someone will use these things for profit. As soon as the news came out, people with left-behind elderly and children in their homes wept with joy. Great, I won't worry about my grandmother getting lost when I go out again. Alright now, my dad always feels uneasy staying alone in his hometown. It's much better to have this robot, and the rent is not expensive. There are also professional personnel who regularly check and warranty, and the safety is too high. As soon as the press conference was launched, people saw the benefits of this robot and became enthusiastic. Of course, in order to ensure safety, customers who bought or rented robots were strictly screened. In fact, if you want to say it leisurely, it's just overthinking. Even if someone steals this robot, it doesn't matter. She has set up a self-destruct program on the chip. Once someone tries to crack it, the entire robot will collapse and disappear from the inside out. But in the words of Gu Lao and his team, they are not afraid of 10,000, just afraid of the unexpected. After all, the materials used by this robot from inside out are all black technology, and it is heartbreaking to be stolen, so you don't care about it. Host, I feel like you have a strong emotional attachment to this world. Yeah, because only in this world do I truly exist. But the host will travel through time and space with me in the future. But that's not me. Yo-Yo didn't say much. She could feel a strong connection between her and the Earth, perhaps because she was born and raised here, or maybe. Who knows? After accompanying the robot, Yu tirelessly entered the next experiment. This time, she planned to study a new substance that appeared in the air. She wanted to leave more for the world before leaving. The global climate is undergoing tremendous changes silently, and Yu has discovered that the newly emerging substances in the air are somewhat disorderly and carry a wave of energy. This energy is not pure, but it seems to be constantly purifying as it increases. Leader, I think I need to go now. Yu looked at the Secretary General with a smile and said. Where are you going? The Secretary General frowned and asked. I feel like there's something special in the northwest direction that I want to find. Yu doesn't know exactly what it is, but according to the information from the system, the substance appearing in the air is spiritual energy. In this way, there may be a chance to see you again in a few years. Okay, you have always had an idea in your heart, and I don't ask what you're doing. You haven't rested well in the past few years. It's really nice to give you a break and go out to play, but you have to bring someone with you. The Secretary General readily agreed. Thank you and the country for accommodating me. I won't let you down. Alright, taking care of yourself is the greatest reward for us. People can follow, but I have to choose for myself. Yo thought for a moment, but didn't refuse. After all, there was indeed a shortage of miscellaneous workers on the way. No problem. The Secretary General was somewhat surprised to see Yo-Yo's prompt agreement, but as long as Yo was willing to lead the people, it would be great. On a sunny day, Yu set off with the sun shining. Xiangyang, a sharp blade cultivated by the country, is only 24 years old, with a tough and handsome appearance. He is an all-around talent who is both eye-catching and practical. Dr. Su, is it really good for us to have such a leisurely past? Xiangyang asked as he looked at Yu sitting by the window leisurely eating fruits. There's nothing bad about it. It's not something that can be done in a hurry, just take it slow. You squinted your eyes and blocked the sunlight on your face, lazily saying. By the way, Xiangyang, I remember your home is in the northwest region. Yes, Dr. Xu. Let's go to your house. You probably haven't returned home in years, so it's a good opportunity for you to take a look at it and also explore the terrain. Isn't that good? We still have a mission. Listen to me, I am your boss now. Do you think I chose you casually? You smiled, closed your eyes, and stopped talking. Seeing this, Xiangyang drove more steadily. Xiangyang won't ask any more questions. His task is to listen to Xu Qingyou's words, do a good job of what she has instructed, and protect his safety. He can't ask more about anything else. The RV arrived at a small mountain village in Y City, Xianyang's hometown, 3 days later. Dr. Xu, it's at my house. So fast, your environment here is quite good, very suitable for elderly care, but lacking a river. You got out of the car and looked at the surrounding environment, nodding with a smile. Oh, this is not Xiangjia kid, it's going home with a girlfriend. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Rebirth, 4. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Rebirth, 4, Antly, I'm going home. This is not my girlfriend, it's my leader. Xiangyang explained awkwardly, and then looked at Yu, afraid that Yu might get angry. Yu shook her head without paying attention and looked at a small villa in front of her. Coincidentally, the aunt also felt a bit embarrassed and quickly ran in shouting, Xiangyang mom, your home Xiangyang has returned. As a result, Xiangyang's mother rushed out and hugged her own son, tears in her eyes, and kept muttering, come back, come back, come back. In short, the scene was touching for a moment. She silently pulled her suitcase back a few steps, leaving enough space for the family and quietly watched the warm scene before her. After a while, Xiangyang struggled out of his mother's enthusiastic embrace and said, Mom, let me introduce you. This is Miss Xu, my current direct supervisor. Hello Miss Xu. Xiangyang's mother looked at the beautiful girl in front of her and said somewhat awkwardly. Hello auntie, just call me Yu. I may be bothering you for a while now, I hope you don't mind. Yu smiled and said. Oh, that's it. Xiangyang's mother glanced at her own son, come in quickly. This house hasn't been cleaned up, don't mind. No, thank you. Yo nodded her first thank you slightly, with an attitude that was neither humble nor aloof, neither contemptuous nor disdainful, just indifferent. Looking at such an indifferent girl, Xiangyang's mother couldn't help but feel a good impression. However, what does her own son do? Although they as parents are not clear, they also know a little bit. Therefore, the identity of this girl is definitely not simple, so it is better to get along well. There is a bedroom on the second floor of Xiangyang's house, which is unoccupied all year round, but it is usually cleaned up. It happened to be a good time to clean it for Yu to live in. Xiangyang and his people quickly removed the gift from the RV, and Yu took care of all her personal belongings. Xiangyang, let me tell your family not to be too nervous. If they continue to be so nervous, I won't be able to stay. After tidying up the room, he leisurely called out to Xiangyang who was about to leave. I understand, thank you, Miss Xu. My family is a bit small, don't mind. Xiangyang also felt a bit embarrassed. It's okay, my family is also from the countryside. What's there to dislike? You go gather with your family, talk to them, and I'll take a break. Okay, feel free to call me anytime if you have anything to do. Xiangyang heard this and simply left. Along the way, he probably felt what kind of personality this person had, and he was free to do whatever she said. Don't think of refuting it. Got it. Watching her own son come down from upstairs, the family once again gathered together and said, Son, why did you suddenly come back, and bring your leader back? Xiangyang's mother glanced upstairs and asked in a low voice. Mom, I have a mission this time, and I can't tell you the details. Xiangyang is helpless. His mother is good at everything, but some gossip is still timid. Okay. I was also watching you bring me a daughter.in.law when you joined the army, but it turned out to be the leader, but you're not good enough for the girls. Xiang Yangma patted her clothes and decided to go back to the kitchen, thinking about what to do. The rest of the people went to the living room, and the family was very warm. Everyone had left, and Yo-Yo quietly opened her suitcase, packing her things one by one. After packing them, Yo-Yo simply collapsed onto the bed. The sheets, covers were all new and had been exposed to sunlight, giving off a scent of sunshine. In a daze, I fell asleep peacefully. Xiaoyang, go call that girl down to eat. Okay, Mom, I'll go right now. Xiangyang came upstairs and knocked on the door. Miss Su, why don't you come down and have something to eat? My mother has prepared the food. Upon hearing the knocking on the door, Yu frowned and woke up. I know, come down immediately. Mom, Miss Su will come down soon. After a while, Yu changed into clothes and walked down, and everyone had a quiet dinner. In the scorching summer, it is best to take a cool walk at night. Although this is a small village, there are many people here. They come out at night to dance ethnic dances, and there are also many square dances. Walking leisurely on the road, watching the noisy night and the dancing crowd, I decided to join in and dance happily. Xianyang was pulled out for a blind date by her mother, and after obtaining Yu's consent, Xianyang reluctantly went. The two of them chatted briefly, and their family asked them to come out for a stroll. Xianyang felt that the girl was also good, so he agreed. On the way, he also met a good friend who had grown up playing since childhood, and the team suddenly changed from a two-person group to a multi-person group. Wow, look! There's a girl dancing square dancing there, she's so beautiful. Everyone looked in the direction of his fingers, and Xiangyang saw that Yu was actually dancing, which startled his chin. Coincidentally, at this moment, Yu also had fun dancing and casually threw her hair aside, getting up and preparing to leave. At this moment, Xiangyang was stunned. When he came to Xu Qingyou's place, the leader reminded Wan that this person did not like to join in the fun, was indifferent to everything, and rarely smiled. Although Xu Qingyou had shown good interpersonal skills along the way, he could not connect the previous Xu Qingyou with the charming and smiling girl in front of him. One is the goddess of ice and snow, and the other is the brilliant fairy, it doesn't matter at all. In a moment of looking back, I saw Xiangyang and decided to walk over. Miss Su. Xiangyang walked over and quickly said. Yo-Yo nodded and looked at the girl next to him. Girlfriend. Not yet. Xiangyang glanced at the girl and said nervously. Like is like, what does it look like to be twisted around? Yu chuckled lightly and looked at the girl, who then shyly lowered her head. Not bad, said the girl with only a hint of shyness in her eyes. Since you like it, treat her well and don't let her down. Yes, Miss Su. Xiangyang saw the girl receiving Yu's affirmation and couldn't help but feel extremely happy. Yu looked aside from the corner of her eyes, but she didn't expect to see a familiar figure, and she was momentarily stunned. Watching Yu look to the side, Xiangyang quickly introduced herself, Miss Su, this is my little road attendant, and this is my cousin heading south. Miss Su. Miss Su. Xiangyang's eyes turned red when he saw that Yu had been silent for a long time after a leisurely recovery. He reached out his hand to wipe away the tears from the corners of his eyes and said, it's nothing, just being blinded by the wind. Yu closed her eyes, and after a while, she opened them. She was the cold and heartless Xu Qingyou again. I'm a bit tired, let's go back first. Yu turned around and left, the flower on the other side of her neck appearing slightly mysterious under the light. Miss Su, I'll take you back. Xiangyang said hastily as she looked down on Yu. No need. You have your King Huadu, and I have my road of no return. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Rebirth, 5. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Rebirth, 5. Looking at the figure of Yu Yu hurriedly leaving, Xiangyang didn't dare to follow, but looked at Yu Yu's back with some concern. Xiangnan, do you know Miss Xu? Xiangyang suddenly remembered that Xu Qingyou felt something was wrong when he saw Xiangyang, and asked urgently. No, I don't know you. Xiangnan hesitated a bit. As long as he had seen anyone, I believe no one would forget this face, but her gaze at him was indeed incorrect, and he felt that those eyes were somewhat familiar. Yao Yao, you go back first, I need to hurry back and take a look. Xiangyang said to the girl next to him and chased after her. However, Xu Qinyou's eyes, which had left everyone's sight, were filled with tears at some point, but he stubbornly refused to let them stay. Host, what's wrong with you? 1314 looked anxiously at Xu Qingyou's tumultuous emotions and asked with some fear, but it was destined not to receive an answer. Puff. A mouthful of fresh blood spurted out from Yu Yu's mouth, protruding. Yu Yu's face turned even whiter, and the host system frantically scanned Yu Yu's body. Unlike before, this time 4 words appeared on the panel. Oil depleted, lamp depleted. I'm fine. After a while, Yu Yu wiped away the blood from the corner of her mouth and said lightly. Host, how could it be okay? You vomited blood and ran out of oil. As he spoke, the system reacted. Host, you already knew. To resurrect from death is to change one's destiny against the heavens, let alone my body, which cannot live long. Xiangyang chased after people all the way, but still didn't see anyone at his house. Now, Xiangyang was a bit panicked and was about to run out, only to see Yu Yu come back. Miss Xu, are you okay? Xiangyang asked cautiously. I'm fine, I'm a bit tired. Let's rest now. Yu Yu walked around Xiangyang and returned to the room, sitting by the bed for a long time without moving. Host, who is he? The system couldn't help but ask curiously. You go rest too. Yo-Yo said as she sent the system into the small black room and lay on the bed, slowly closing her eyes. The next morning, Yu Yu woke up very late and felt that her body had been getting increasingly tired lately. After a while, she got up and changed into clothes and went downstairs. She still had something to do today. Sister, you're awake. I'll go tell my uncle. The little girl in the courtyard downstairs saw Yu Yu come down and ran to report the news with a smile. Yu walked into the living room downstairs and saw that there were still quite a few people, including a few we met last night and a few we didn't know. She nodded slightly and said hello. Xiangyang, pack up and follow me. Yu Yu said with a cold expression on her face. Miss Xu, where are you going? Seeing Yu Yu dressed in outdoor sportswear, Xiangyang looked a bit puzzled. What's wrong? What's up? Yu Yu frowned, not liking her disobedient subordinates. Looking at Yu Yu's indifferent expression, Xiangyang felt a bit nervous. He had never seen such a Xu Qingyou before, as cold as a piece of ice, without any temperature. No, Miss Xu, I'll start right away. Xiangyang wanted to say something, but looking at Yu Yu's indifferent side face, he didn't dare to say anything. Yu Yu furrowed her brows and glanced inside. She saw the girl from last night, sitting next to her parents and the person who was also there. I'll wait for you in the car, give you 10 minutes to deal with your affairs. Yu Yu finished speaking and turned around to leave. Thank you, Miss Xu. Upon hearing this, Xiangyang quickly thanked her. Dad, Mom, Yao Yao, I'm sorry, I have to leave first. What's going on, why are you leaving? Mom, my task is to follow Miss Xu. Now that Miss Xu has orders, my son must comply. Yao Yao, Uncle Lin, Aunt Lin, I'm sorry. Xiangyang felt a bit guilty. After all, today was originally a big day for the two families to discuss, but he had to leave. Xiangyang, you go. Although I don't know the identity of that girl, I think it's extremely important. I'll wait for you to come back. Lin Yao stood up and said with a smile. Lin's father and mother didn't say anything when they saw their daughter say this. Seeing this, Xiangyang quickly changed his clothes and ran out, while Yu had already been sitting in the car. Miss Xu, where are you going? Drive southeast to the Gobi Desert over there. Yes. Xiangyang started the car and drove towards the southeast. Originally, Xiangyang wanted to ask something, but Qianjin had already closed her eyes, so she closed her mouth and drove steadily. He came out to bid farewell to his family and looked south at the car that had already gone far away. He always felt that the girl gave her a familiar feeling, but he had never seen her before. His surname was quite familiar, but the person in his memory was not like that. Returning home to the south, I opened my phone and remained silent for a moment to search for the person's number. Without any unexpected results, I said, "You really disappeared completely." He used to think that she was there when he turned around, but she disappeared completely, as if she had never appeared before. Over here, Xiangyang and Yu arrived at the Gobi Desert and said, "Miss Xu, what's here?" "There's something here." Yu looked around for a long time, squatted down, pulled out a blade of grass, his eyes a bit confused, but this moment of confusion only passed in a blink of an eye. "Let's go. Walk ahead, maybe there will be a surprise." Yu walked forward with Xiangyang for a distance, turning 7 or 8. When Xiangyang reacted, he found a dilapidated village in front of him. How could anyone be in charge here? I grew up near here and never noticed it. Xiangyang's tone was full of disbelief. What's strange? There are so many strange things in this world. Let's go in and take a look. Yo-Yo said as she was about to walk inside. Unexpectedly, Xiangyang quickly blocked in front and said, "Miss Xu, the situation here is still unknown. You can't enter rashly. Get out of the way." "No, Miss Xu, I am ordered to protect you." Xiangyang spoke firmly. "Xiangyang." Yu said coldly, "Do you know why I picked you? Isn't it because I am the best? This is just one thing, the most important thing is your surname. I never need anyone to protect me around me because I want to die, no one can stop me. Similarly, I want to live, no one can kill me. What I need is not a bodyguard, understand?" Looking at the distant and indifferent expression, Xiangyang suddenly remembered the night before leaving that the leader had instructed him to unconditionally obey any of her orders. "Understood, Miss Xu, I'm walking ahead, you're following me." Xiangyang knew he couldn't stop Yu, so he wanted to explore ahead. "Just follow behind me, don't get in the way," Yu said, avoiding Xiangyang and entering this deserted village. There seemed to be traces of human survival here, but where have the people gone? Xiangyang muttered as he walked, but he remained steadfast. Looking at this ancient city with a long history, yes, it is not a village, but a city. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Rebirth, 6. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Rebirth, 6. After thousands of years, there are still traces left behind. This city is extraordinary. Miss Xu, the buildings here are curious and strange. I don't know which dynasty's buildings they are. Xiangyang looked at Yu with a slightly relieved expression and asked tentatively. This dynasty may be an unrecorded one in history. What dynasty is it that has never existed in history? Xiangyang quickly chased after Yu as he walked away. Miss Xu, it's getting late now. Why don't we go back first and check tomorrow? Xiangyang said as he looked at the gradually darkening sky. Yu looked at the sky and thought they didn't bring too much when they came out. So she nodded and said, "Okay, come back tomorrow with enough things. We'll probably stay here for a while." The two of them walked out of the ancient city, and not far away, they turned around to look at the ancient city, only to find that it was missing. "Xu, Miss Xu, no, it's gone." Xiangyang rubbed his eyes in shock, unable to believe it. Don't make a fuss, it's normal. Yo-Yo chuckled and walked towards the car. Seeing this, Xiangyang quickly followed suit, feeling a slight chill on his back. Miss Xu, what's going on? Xiangyang couldn't help but ask. What's going on? Afraid? No, how could I be afraid? You guys are quite similar, they're all afraid of this elusive thing. Who is it? It's nothing. Yo-Yo shook her head, is that your younger brother heading south? Yeah, heading south is my cousin, my own cousin. How is your relationship? Yu asked hesitantly. We grew up together since childhood. My cousin is very kind and has been protecting us since childhood. By the way, my cousin has also served in the military, but now he's discharged. Did he get married? Yu didn't notice, and when she asked this question, she felt a little nervous. No, my aunt is very anxious. She arranged several blind dates, but my cousin didn't go. All of these are what my mother said I heard. As for now, I'm not quite sure. Xiangyang thought for a moment and said. Is your cousin particularly attractive to girls? You guessed it right. He has been surrounded by girls since he was young, but there are not many people he really likes. However, their relationships are good. Xiangyang smiled and said. No wonder. Yu closed her eyes and whispered softly. Miss Xu, Miss Xu, Miss Xu. Xiangyang turned around and saw that Yu seemed to be asleep. She quickly closed her mouth and slowed down the speed to allow Yu to sleep better. Why haven't you come back yet? It's so late. Xiangyang's parents walked anxiously. It's okay, Xiangyang should have some important mission. I'm here, I'm back. Upon hearing this, everyone hurriedly went out and saw the car parked at the door, and Xiangyang got out of the car. You child, you've come back and won't give us a call. Mom, I'm fine, I'll call Miss Xu first. Xiangyang turned around and saw that Yu had already come down at some point. Miss Xu, come on, hurry in and have something to eat. Thank you to Auntie. You're welcome, you're welcome. After finishing dinner, everyone went back separately. As soon as I entered the room, my leisurely body swayed gently and said, Host, what's wrong with you? I'm fine. Host, I have a spring pill here that can cure all kinds of diseases. Take one quickly. 1314 said anxiously, and then took out a bottle of spring pills from his system space. Are you willing? Host, take one quickly. 1314 said anxiously. Looking at the anxious appearance of the small system, Yo-Yo decided to take one and eat it. 1314 was relieved and suddenly thought that it was going to take the host on a mission. Why did it give the host a life-saving medicine? However, as the host took the pill, 1314 scanned Yu's body again and found something shocking. Yu's body was still in decline, and the rejuvenation pill had no effect. How could this be? 1314 couldn't believe it. It was something from the cultivation world, and it had no effect on the host. What kind of person was the host? Alright, thank you, Xiao Tongzi. Yu smiled, obviously knowing it already. Host, aren't you sad? What's so sad about it? There's nothing left to cherish in this world for a long time. You lay in bed, little system, I've known you for so long. Do you have a name? Host, my number is 1314 and I don't have a name. 1314, for a lifetime, it's so rare. A tear fell from the corner of Yu's eye. Let me give you a name, let's call it Forget River, okay? Forgetful River, host, why is it called Forgetful River? Because it sounds so good. That host, I will be called Forgotten River, in the future. I have a name now. Host, I will go show off with other characters. Go. After the system left, Yu also fell asleep, as if everything had no impact on her. The next morning, after leisurely waking up, she had originally planned to go there again. However, upon reflection, she was not in a hurry. Moreover, her current physical condition was not suitable for daily commuting, so she decided to go downstairs after breakfast. After going downstairs, Yu found everyone present, along with a few people she had never seen before. A group of people gathered together and were talking. "Miss Xu, are you leaving now?" Xiangyang came over and asked. "You go to the military district and bring 2 armies over. You need someone with good skills. I have already issued the order and it has been approved by the higher authorities. Just go and bring the people over." "Yes, I'm going now." Xiangyang didn't know what had happened, but also knew that Yu was a person with a sense of propriety. He greeted his friends and set off. Yu looked at the people inside the room, but in the end, his gaze turned towards the south. The men and women sitting in the room looked at the girl in front of him, both hesitant to speak, and he walked slowly over. "Sister, sit by the side." Xiangyang came over and grabbed Yu's hand, saying with a smile. "Thank you, Xiangyang." Yu gently touched Xiangyang's head. Xiangyang was extremely happy, and the fairy sister touched her. "Miss Xu, hello." The boys greeted with a somewhat awkward tone. "Hello." Yu looked south and said word by word. You closed your eyes and took a long breath. "Xiangyang, can you help me take down the computer in my room?" "Sister, I'll go get it now." Xiangyang ran away with a smile. "Miss Xu, why don't you have an orange?" "Miss Xu, do you want to eat a grape?" "Miss Xu, why don't you have a pineapple?" A few people were a bit embarrassed when they saw the atmosphere, so they quickly said something. However, facing south, they never opened their mouths. On the one hand, he didn't know why Yo-Yo was staring at him, and on the other hand, he didn't know what to say and could only say nothing. Heading south, long time no see. The wild flower had a dream of roses, and it turned out that we were just briefly embracing each other. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Rebirth, 7. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Rebirth, 7. After Yu finished speaking, tears finally fell from her eyes. She smiled lightly, tears in her eyes. "What's the situation?" The crowd was a bit at a loss, not to mention heading south. "Let's get to know each other again. I'm Xu Qingyou, and I'm also Xu Ying." Xu Ying. Xiangyang lost his composure and the thing in his hand fell to the ground. "This is impossible." Standing up with a slight loss of composure towards the south, these are clearly 2 people. "Nothing is impossible. I have a special identity and my true appearance will not appear on the internet. Once, I wanted to give you a surprise, but unfortunately, I couldn't wait until that day." You blinked and swallowed the tears that were about to flow. "To the south, do you know that? In fact, you were the redemption of my life. Without you, I might have died 5 years ago. Once, I really wanted to be with you, but unfortunately, the plan couldn't keep up with the changes." Yu reached out and wiped away the tears from her face. Xiangyang was completely stunned, unable to believe it, and even unwilling to believe that what the girl said was true. "Sister, I have taken down the computer for you." Xiangyang's voice recalled. "Oh, good, thank you." "Sister, why are you crying?" "I accidentally got my eyes blown by the wind just now." Yo-Yo took the computer, sat on the other side, opened the computer, and started browsing through the received emails. Looking at the girl who had regained her indifference, several people couldn't believe that the girl sitting there would be the lifeless one just now. "Xu Ying'er, Xiangyang wanted to say something, but felt the language was so pale that the damage had already been done, and it seemed like it was too late to say anything. "No need to say, I'm going to be busy." Yu said lightly, as if nothing had happened. "Just treat everything as a mistake, let go of you and let go of me. The leisurely phone rang. Uncle Lin, what's up? Yuyo, what have you discovered? A fun place that may change the future of humanity. Yuyu smiled and said, Uncle Lin, come and archaeological together. Okay. Uncle Lin fell silent for a moment and quickly agreed, I'll organize people right away. Before we arrive, don't take any action without authorization. I know. Yo-Yo smiled and agreed. She had no intention of taking any action on her own, after all, this is something that belongs to humanity. Hang up the phone, take a deep breath, and accelerate the processing of some paper data. For a moment, both sides fell silent, one addicted to work and the other unsure of what to say. It's time for dinner. She prepared lunch for her mother. Miss Su, please take a look at today's dishes and see if you like them. Aunt Xiang, thank you, that's great. Yu nodded lightly and had to say that Xiangyang's mother's craftsmanship was really good. 3 days passed in an instant. In the past 3 days, the village has become lively, with the military stationed here and many heavyweight scientific research experts secretly coming. And within 3 days, Yu has also sorted out everything. This time, she probably won't be able to come back. Ingbao, I'm sorry. Xiang Nan finally found the opportunity to be alone with Yu. I'm sorry, it's no longer useful. The person who loves you is Su Ying, not Xu Qingyou. In the future, I wish you happiness. Yu finished speaking and walked south. In the unnoticed corner, a red light flashed across Xu Qinyou's wrist, and then returned to calm. However, no one noticed this scene. Yo-Yo, what did you find? Good thing, why are you all here? Isn't it rare to see you launch such a big battle? Let's just come and take a look, our old folks. You've all come, what should we do in the capital? Don't worry, everything has been arranged. Then let's go. This team stepped into the ancient city at the fastest speed, while the foreign spies responsible for tracking were left behind by Yu, leaving all their hands on the Gobi Desert. What an ancient city. Several senior professors from the archaeological team looked at this historic city, their eyes full of light. A few teachers, do you want to go in and take a look? Yu smiled and looked at the expressions on the teachers' faces, which was not strange. After all, these are real archaeologists. That's for sure, but Yu, how did you discover this place? How did you discover it? We've already discovered it. Let's go in and take a look. After Yu finished speaking, she walked in. Xiangyang led the team and followed closely behind, while several old professors followed closely. The team behind also followed closely. Everyone followed leisurely to the center of the city. There are murals here. What is painted on this? It looks a bit like a sacrificial scene. I feel like the people above are a bit different. Several professors gathered around the mural to discuss, leisurely looking at the spacious area and then at the soldiers behind them. Xiangyang, let's set up camp on the spot. We'll be busy tomorrow. Yes. The soldiers quickly took action, whether or not, their execution was top-notch. Yu also walked up to the mural, looked closely, and then looked at the dark altar behind him. Everything here was covered in dust, except for this altar, which was spotless. Yo-Yo, do you see anything? I can see that the people above feel different from us. Right, I also have this feeling. Look, Yu feels the same as me, so it's not my illusion. You said so, it's true. Oh, why are you doing this? Yuan Lao angrily joined in again with a magnifying glass in his hand. Miss Su, I don't feel right here. Oh, something's wrong. Nothing's wrong here, there's no one here, but this altar is clean and spotless, which is very abnormal. Xiangyang said cautiously. No wasted training, there's really something wrong here, but don't worry, it's not a big deal. Let everyone have something to eat and go back to rest early. Yes, I'll go talk to Captain Lin about the night guard. Xiangyang said as he was about to leave. Xiangyang, tell everyone that no matter what you hear or see tonight, you won't take a step out of the tent. Those who violate the order will be dealt with by military law. Yu said with a cold expression as he looked into the distance. Miss Su, this is not safe. Xiangyang, I don't want to say the same thing again. Looking at the distant and indifferent gaze, Xiangyang knew he couldn't ask anything more and could only go and tell Captain Lin. Xiangyang thought Lin Heng would ask something, but he executed the command without saying a word. Xiangyang looked forward to loneliness. As for the several old professors, Yu has also arranged everything, and it is obvious that the old professors are still very obedient to Yu's words. The city, as night falls, becomes even more eerie, and many things that cannot be seen during the day emerge at night. Standing leisurely outside the tent, watching the ghosts appearing in the sky, frowning. Host, is this a ghost? Ah. Be quiet, you're afraid of this kind of thing. There was a hint of a smile in the leisurely tone. I'm not afraid. Forgotten River's voice trembled slightly. Just be afraid, I won't laugh at you. Host, aren't you afraid? Forgotten River asked with some fear and some confusion. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Rebirth, 8. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Rebirth, 8, What's there to be afraid of? Anyway, I won't be able to live long anymore. The words fell, and Yu spat out a mouthful of blood again. Host, how are you? Forgotten Chuan was very anxious and grabbed the system mall, wanting to see if there was anything he could do to help the host. Forget it, don't be busy. I don't want to live. No one can save me, but there's enough time left. The wind is getting louder and the night is getting darker. Miss Su, it's not safe here, go back quickly. Xiangyang ran out, although Yu saw that the veins on the back of her hand were exposed, he still stood in front of her. Xiangyang, why are you coming out? Miss Su, Xiangyang knows he has violated military orders, but my top priority is to protect your safety. Xiangyang said firmly, suppressing fear. Ha! Yu sneered, well, since you're out, there's nothing different. You should go back now. Yu looked into Xiangyang's eyes, and Xiangyang seemed to be blinded by something and walked straight towards his tent. Host, what did you do? It's just a little bit of hypnosis. Yu walked up to the altar, the dark altar flashing with red light. At this moment, everyone realized that the ground was made of countless flesh and blood poured, and there was a special energy here that could be preserved so well. Yu took a look and decided to return to the tent to rest. At the moment when Yu fell asleep, everyone's consciousness was pulled into another world. Where is this? How could I be here? Where exactly is this? There were constant screams and reminders, but fortunately everyone was teleported in one place, and there was a sense of security to some extent. Miss Su, are you okay? Yu, are you okay? Where is this? I'm okay, are you all okay? It's okay, it's okay. Where the hell is this? Shouldn't we be sleeping? How could we be here? If I guess correctly, this should be the memory of this city. Let's keep up our spirits and go into the city to learn about this ancient city that may have existed for billions of years. Miss Su, would you like to change your clothes or something? No need, that's it. Yu finished speaking and walked ahead first. Everyone hurriedly followed. Sister, do you need to lead the way? Just a spiritual medicine is enough. A child walked up to Yu and said awkwardly. Okay. Yu said and gave the child a spiritual medicine. The child dutifully guided them and explained the big and small things about the city. According to the child's explanation, it turns out this is a holy city. Hurry up, Changyuan Shengzi is coming. The holy sun is coming. In an instant, the street became lively, and the leisurely group of people were pushed forward. What is the identity of this sage? He is so popular. He has a quite star-chasing attitude and is also very crazy. Be careful, everyone. This madness is likely to be dispersed. If it is, remember to meet at the city gate. Yu frowned and quickly said. Yes. Xiangyang immediately shouted at everyone. Sure enough, the crowd became increasingly crazy, and the group eventually had to disperse. They followed the crowd and saw the saint. Host, this is the Holy Sun, he looks really beautiful. You can live up to the name of the Holy Sun, with a white lotus-like aura all around you. Yu pouted and chatted with Forget River. The Holy Sun is going to teach in the Holy Academy, let's hurry and grab a seat. There were discussions everywhere on the road, and Yu followed the crowd to the side. Finally, she found a place to walk out. When she realized it, she was already standing at the entrance of a mansion. Xichen Pavilion. Yu looked at the large gilded characters on it and couldn't help but read aloud. Host, do you know the characters on it? Forgotten River felt that it was useless. It didn't recognize the characters on it and couldn't scan them. Don't you know each other? Yu was a little puzzled. Host, I couldn't find the font here in my program. That's right, you only existed for a few years, and your so-called Lord God has lived for many more years, definitely not as long as people in this era. But host, you haven't lived long either. Why did you know each other? Forgotten Chuan couldn't figure it out. Of course it's your host, I have exceptional talent. Yu smiled and lifted your skirt as you stepped into the Purple Chin Pavilion. Miss, you can't enter the Purple Chin Pavilion at will. You entered with your front foot, and someone suddenly appeared with your back foot. Why? Yu looked at the middle-aged man in front of him and asked in confusion. This Purple Chin Pavilion is the residence of the Holy Sun, and no one is allowed to enter at will. But I have already come in. No, how did you get in? I clearly set up a formation on it. The big man was puzzled, and while he was pondering, Yu took advantage of his time to bypass him and ran in quickly. Girl, you can't go in. The big man reacted and quickly chased after Yu, shouting. If I can come in, it means I have a connection with this place, doesn't it? This won't work. Changbai, you go down first. Yes, His Highness the Holy Sun. You saw the Holy Sun you saw at the city gate, and it seemed that the speed was quite fast. Miss, I wonder why you came to my Purple Chin Pavilion. I feel like this place should be quite fun. Come in and take a look. It's good to come in and take a look, let me show you around. The Holy Sun took a deep look at Yu and then smiled and said. Okay, then Your Highness, thank you for your help. Daren't. The sage dodged Yu's salute sideways, and Yu didn't care either. The two of them strolled around Xichen Pavilion, and along the way, Yu also collected a lot of good things. Miss, come with me here. The sage led you towards a remote attic. You are not worried either, after all, there is nothing to be afraid of for a dying person. Follow the sage to the attic. Unlike the grand atmosphere outside, this attic appears somewhat remote and cramped, but when she saw it, Yu felt something inside calling her. Miss, please come in. The Holy Sun opened the door and let Yu in. Inside, there was an unexpected emptiness, only a cattail and a small tower. If the Holy Sun has any requirements, please speak up. Yu glanced around and said with a smile. Miss, I know you are a descendant. I am a Qingli tribe, and we perished together with the demon tribe in the past. However, here is just our remaining obsession. I have been waiting for you for a long time, and this pagoda is up to you, Mississippi. Why is it me? There are not only me, but also a dying person who came in. Yu picked up the small tower, looked at it, and sneered. Because only you can drive it, and only you can get it, I don't know what happened to you, but one day you will remember. Ha! Yu Yu spoke hastily before he could come, and a noisy voice came from outside. His Highness the Holy Sun, urgently report to the border, 6 holy envoys have sacrificed themselves. You wait to protect the safety of the city, my lord, and then return to the border. But your Highness, your body cannot go to the front line anymore. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Rebirth, 9. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Rebirth, 9, the demon clan is coming with a fierce force. As the Holy Sun, how can I live a miserable life? But, son, you are the last hope. Later, Yu Yu watched as the demon tribe conquered this city, watching the blood dye the city red. In the final scene, every person frozen in the city voluntarily stepped onto the altar, sacrificed their blood, and ultimately died together with the demon tribe. Yu Yu Meng opened her eyes, and when she got up, she felt a bit separated by her hands. She looked down and found that it was a pagoda, which was exactly the same pagoda. So it's real. Miss Su, are you okay? A sunny voice came from outside the tent. I'm fine, are everyone okay? Everyone is fine. In fact, everyone was shocked by the overwhelming blood color. They thought it was a dream, but when they asked each other, they found out they were having the same dream. You stood up leisurely and walked outside, seeing everyone discussing, no matter who it was, there was a hint of panic on their faces. Uncle Lin, are you okay? It's okay, Yu Yu, you had that dream too. Well, that's not a dream, it's something that really happened before. Yu Yu smiled and said, Uncle Lin, take a good rest, I'll go make a phone call. Yu Yu returned to her tent and clicked on the watch on her wrist. An electronic screen appeared in mid-air, and the other side quickly connected. Yu Yu, what's wrong? Send some elites from our country, there's a great opportunity here. Okay, Yu Yu, how many people do you need? At least one more time, at most 1 year, within a controllable time, the more people, the better. Okay, Yu Yu, I got it. You take care of your own safety. Well, I got it. Hang up the phone and say, cough cough cough, cough cough. A mouthful of blood spat out, and the lingering breath became weaker and weaker. Xiangyang, go and bring your brother Xiangnan as well. The people above came quickly, unexpectedly. Not many people came, but they were all elite, and Yu Yu's younger brothers and sisters also came. Sister, how are you doing? You're here, I'm fine. Dr. Su, we are all at your disposal. Well, everyone take a break, eat something, and gather at dusk. Yes. Yo-Yo looked at the altar behind her, her expression bright and uncertain, and no one knew what she was thinking. Sister, what's wrong with you? Your face is so ugly. I'm fine, maybe it's been blowing for too long. No, sister, your face looks too ugly. I'll go find Dr. He. Don't. Before Yu Yu could finish speaking, he saw that his younger brother had already run out and decided to follow him. Dr. He is a dedicated doctor for Yu Yu. He was also sent over this time, it's a pity. At dusk, the large army gathered in a neat queue around the altar, standing leisurely on the altar quietly watching the people below, causing some unease among the crowd. Miss Su, what are you going to do next? Open the altar. Yo-Yo's words fell, and those who knew about the night were a bit panicked. Yo-Yo, this altar needs blood to be activated. I know. So what are you doing? Do you think it's just personal blood? Yu Yu smiled and turned around to walk to the center of the altar. Today, I'll send you a blessing. After Yu Yu finished speaking, she drew out the dagger in her hand and left a scar on her palm, with blood dripping into the center of the altar. Yo-Yo, what are you doing? Don't come up. Yu Yu's gaze swept over, inexplicably making everyone feel a bit cold. Miss Su, you can use our blood. Your body cannot be so ruined. Yes, we have more blood. The soldiers underground eagerly extended their respective hands. Sister, use mine. I have more blood than you. The underground commotion is all about donating blood. You frowned and said, please be quiet. Do you think anyone on this altar will absorb their blood? Please be quiet. No matter what happens later, don't act rashly. Follow my orders. Due to excessive blood loss, Yu Yu's face became increasingly pale. With the pouring of blood, the altar became much brighter. In the blink of an eye, 9 black jade pillars emerged from different directions on the altar, engraved with different people and objects. After seeing the 9 pillars stabilize, she slowly withdrew her hand. At this moment, she felt cold all over her body, but still struggled to hold on to her body and walked to the edge of the altar. Now, every jade pillar here has a tradition of cultivating immortals, divided into 9 teams and entering one by one. After listening to Yu Yu's words, no one refuted, and the teams were orderly divided into 9 teams. Although they were worried about Yu Yu's body, they knew better that executing orders at this time would be the greatest help for her. Seeing everyone queuing up, Yu Yu sat down on a nearby stone, gently closing her eyes. Looking at such Yu Yu, Xu Qingyou, Xu Qingyou, and Xu Qingmao felt a bit uneasy. They left the queue and came to Yu Yu. Sister, how are you? Let's go back. I'm fine, go quickly. From now on, we'll all be adults. We can't be stubborn anymore. Sister, I'm still waiting for you to protect me after you cultivate immortality. Sister, why don't you go? This way, your health will also be better. I have my own ideas, go quickly, I'll wait for you here. Seeing that Yu Yu's face was okay, the few of them turned back to the team step by step. Miss Su, how are you? Xiang Yang walked over. I'm fine, you can go queue up too. I'll wait for you here, hurry up. Yu Yu frowned and said. It seems that Yu Yu is indeed fine, but Yu Yu's expression is clearly a bit restless and she had to step back. For a moment, the field quieted down, and everyone lined up quietly, allowing Yu Yu to rest assured and close her eyes. Looking south at Yu Yu's figure, he felt a bit uneasy. He wanted to walk over and ask her how she was doing, but he was afraid of being noticed because someone was always paying attention to the situation on Yu Yu's side. As more and more people entered, there were fewer and fewer people left outside. Heading south, they stayed last and walked up to Yu Yu, saying, Ingbao, no, Yu Yu, how are you? I'm fine, you go in quickly. Yo-Yo looked up and saw that it was heading south. Her heart hurt, but she still said expressionlessly. Yu-Yo, I'm sorry. To the south, if possible, I would rather, I have never known you. After Yu Yu finished speaking, she closed her eyes and stopped speaking. Upon hearing the words, Xiangnan took a step back, then clenched his fist and turned around to leave with great strides. At this point, the entire altar was completely quiet, leaving only Yu Yu alone. As time passed, someone was bounced out, and out came a soldier who, although in a state of embarrassment, couldn't conceal the light in his eyes. Miss Su, I'm out. Just come out, sit down and take a breath. Yo-Yo opened her eyes and glanced at him, then closed them again, her breathing becoming very weak. After an unknown amount of time, the people who entered came out one after another. The Su siblings quickly gathered around Yu Yu as soon as they came out. It seemed that Yu Yu was asleep, but they didn't dare to disturb her. Doctor He came out and hurriedly examined Yu Yu, only to find that Yu's body was extremely weak and her breath was almost non-existent. No, we must go back immediately. Doctor He shouted out loud as he looked at Yu Yu's almost transparent face. No need, I'm very clear about my body. I'm afraid I can't go back. Yu Yu curved her lips and forced a smile. Sister, don't talk, let's go back and treat the illness quickly. It's useless, Qingyun, Qinghan, Qingyou, take good care of my parents for me. I'm afraid I won't have the chance to see you again in this life. After I die, if I don't build a monument or a tomb, let's just pretend that I never existed. Cough. You coughed and gasped for blood again. Yu looked at the sky and said, "Today's sky is so blue." Miss Su. Xiangyang knelt on one knee next to Yu, feeling very nervous. "Xiangyang, the inheritance you have received is unique." Yu took a soft breath and said, "Remember what I said next, tell them word for word." "Yes, Miss Su, don't worry, Xiangyang will definitely remember everything." Xiangyang looked at Yu's cold gaze and quickly promised. "This is just the first place. Next, the earth will experience a revival of spiritual energy. At that time, various creatures will appear, including demons, ghosts, and monsters. Therefore, it is necessary to be fully prepared." After taking a leisurely rest for a while, he continued, "The large-scale revival of Earth's spiritual energy will definitely attract the attention of other creatures outside of Earth. Therefore, I will stay on Earth for thousands of years with this pagoda. With it, the creatures outside cannot step on Earth for half a step. In 10,000 years, it will leave." Cough cough, cough cough cough. "This tower is also an inheritance tower. Anyone from our dragon kingdom can enter it, cough cough. Xiangyang, give this tower back to that person and tell him that the time is right. It will find its place to settle on its own." After Yu finished speaking, he coughed up a mouthful of blood and closed his eyes in a daze. Miss Su. Sister. Yu. Ingbao. Yu struggled to open her eyes, gently lifting her right hand as if she wanted to touch someone. She murmured, "If time had restarted, I wouldn't regret falling in love with you, but I regret meeting you." After speaking, Yu's arm fell heavily and closed her eyes. This sentence was only heard towards the south. Although he was standing at the outermost edge of the crowd, it seemed to be whispering in his ear, and he didn't even have a fair reason. "Sister, wake up, don't sleep." The Su siblings were crying, and the people around them had red circles around their eyes. Xu Qingyou planned to pick up his own sister, but found that Yu's body had become transparent and dissipated like starlight. "Sister. Miss Su, you are indeed not an ordinary person. Yu, maybe it's time to go back to where she should go." In short, no one believes that Yu has died, even though everyone watched Yu's breath dissipate. The first world is over, not perfect, but there will be follow-up, everyone can look forward to it. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Xu Qiangyou is a boss, 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Xu Qiangyou is a boss, 1, host, this is over. Forget Chuan still hadn't reacted. Well, it's over. Let's go and start our mission. Host, won't you take a look at the follow-up? This is not those small worlds, how we go from now on depends on how the country's leaders lead. Yu said happily. Host, why are you a little different? Forgotten River looked at the overly active host in front of him with some confusion. Do you have it? Host, don't you feel uncomfortable looking at that person named Xiangnan? Forgotten River pointed at the person on the screen with some disbelief. Should I feel uncomfortable? One person didn't notice that as Yo said these words, a red light flashed on his soul body wrist, and the red light immediately broke and disappeared. Oh, I can't wait to start the mission. Forget it, don't bother. It's over, it's all over. A frightened voice came from the distant void. Oh, okay. Forgotten Chuan began the screening task, but he always felt that such a host seemed more dangerous. Host, can you choose from these tasks? Can I still choose tasks on my own? Of course, I am an advanced system and I have the power to filter tasks. Forgotten Chuan said, which was somewhat appropriate. Oh, what's all of this? The domineering CEO loves me, the years I fishing in the entertainment industry. These are all things. Yu looked at the titles of the books that were so catchy, and decisively skipped them. That's it. Yo pointed to a girl on the screen, who was full of resentment, indicating that her story was tragic enough. However, being able to catch the attention of the fast-wearing bureau indicated that the girl was not someone who accepted the ending peacefully. Host, this is an intermediate world. This girl is a true and false daughter in a true and false story. Because she was changed from a young age and her foster parents didn't hurt, she placed all her hopes on her own parents. After being recognized, she desperately tried to win the favor of her parents and brother. Unfortunately, the truth was wrong and she died tragically. Her wish was to live her own life, and she didn't want to have any more relationships with these people. Forgotten River briefly told the story of this girl. Not bad, just this world. Yo-Yo nodded and was immediately sent into the mission world by Forget River. Before Yo-Yo could open her eyes, a gust of wind came from her ear. Yo-Yo reflexively dodged to the side and then kicked her out. Xu Qingyou, how dare you kick me? Yo-Yo slowly withdrew her foot and said, I can't kick you at the right time. Yo-Yo felt a bit regretful, as her body had not yet been fully transformed and her strength was not very strong. Xu Qingyou, just like you, there's no match for Ran Ran. I'll tell you, although you're my own younger sister, you can only be my adopted daughter from the Yang family. Ran Ran is my younger sister. Don't try to replace him. Yang Qing said with a look of disgust. Yu looked at the original owner's third brother and frowned, what are you barking at? When did I say I wanted to go back with you? Third brother, I know I have taken over my sister's identity and caused her to suffer a lot. I am willing to leave the Yang family as long as she is willing to go back. Yang Ranran said with a restrained expression on her face. Who is your sister? Don't climb over relatives. You look so ugly, how dare you call me sister? You took a step back and said mercilessly. The onlookers, looking at Yu and then at Yang Ranran, are indeed incomparable. One, even though she may appear somewhat malnourished, does not harm her beauty at all, giving the impression that taking an extra look is blasphemy towards her, while the other, even though covered in designer clothes, has a monotonous appearance, like a glass of plain water. Sister, I know. With a loud bang. Yo-Yo reached out and slapped her hard. If you can't speak, just close your mouth. Otherwise, I don't mind teaching you how to speak. Yang Ranran looked at Yu with a cold expression, covered her face for a moment and dared not speak again. She could only cover her face with hatred and lower her head to cover the resentment in her eyes. Yang Qing, let me say it again. Since your Yang family doesn't welcome me, don't pretend to say you want to pick me up. Then take this fake and disappear in front of me immediately. After finishing speaking, Yu turned around and walked out of the coffee shop. Forget about the river, give me a navigation. Fortunately, the original owner hasn't returned yet at this time. It's just the right time to go back and pack up. The Yang family group is probably going to come back again. Yo-Yo yawned and suddenly her stomach rumbled. Forgotten River, I'm so hungry. Host, why don't I guide you to the food street first? This is good, my own body was really unable to eat anything at that time, just the right time, enjoy the delicious food. Yu said, decisively guiding the navigation of the food street in Forgotten River. Forgotten River, the things here smell so good. I want to eat that skewer. Host, I just discovered something. Forgetful Chuan said hesitantly. What's going on? It's so hard to say. Host, I just realized that you don't seem to have any money. How could that be? Yo-Yo immediately flipped over her body and finally pulled out 3.6 yuan. She took out her phone and looked at it again, and there was only 300 yuan left in her phone and bank card. When did I ever be so poor? Before, why did you worry about money? In the past, food, clothing, housing, and transportation were all regulated by the government. Even if you wanted to buy something, just the research dividends in the card would be enough for her to not worry about food and clothing for several lifetimes. This was the first time she was so embarrassed. Host, what should we do now? Forgotten River has some claws, it's just an ordinary small system. You're really useless. You curled your lips, give me the navigation internet cafe and make some money first. Okay, host. Forgetful Chuan felt a bit guilty and made up his mind to study hard, to be able to help the host, at least not to let his host run out of money to spend anymore. Yu arrived at the internet cafe, opened the machine for 2 hours, found the dark web, broke the password, and successfully logged in. Then, he took on a few tasks with more money and less time on the bounty list, and quickly completed them. In an instant, 3 million yuan was received. That's enough money, forget about the river, let's go and eat delicious food. Yu earned money and contented himself as he stepped into the snack street. A girl full of fairy spirit, standing in the snack street, is a beautiful scenery line. At this time, the sky becomes dark, and the snack street is completely lively. Yu found a barbecue stall where you could sit, ordered a lot of barbecue, and sat waiting for the shop to come up with barbecue. In the middle, you would occasionally eat some snacks to cushion your stomach. That girl is pretty good enough. Look at her alone, let her come and drink some alcohol with our brothers. Several young people with tattoos looked at Yu with malicious intent. Host, there are a few people over there who have ill intentions towards you. Why don't we leave first? No need, who's unlucky yet doesn't know. Yu was quite excited, after all, it's been a long time since you started. Thinking of this, Yu's eyes are full of eagerness to try. End of this chapter.